The movie is divided into 3 distinctive stories, all of which revolve around mighty kings. In the first story, we are taken to a kingdom named Longtrellis, where the king and queen happily reside. They are very popular among the common folk because of their kind-hearted and selfless natures. It's almost like a fairy tale story, with all the good things in abundance. However, there is one small problem. Due to an extremely rare medical condition, the queen is told that she will never become a mother. The king tried everything to make her better. He summoned the best doctors from faraway lands, conducted expensive rituals, prayed to God day and night, but to no avail. No one has even come close to diagnosing her condition. Because of this, the queen starts plunging into a state of depression. She also becomes more aggressive, constantly getting into arguments and throwing things around like a 10-year-old. But little did she know that her life is about to change dramatically. One night, a mysterious man in a black robe comes to the castle, claiming that he can cure the queen. This leaves the royal couple stunned, and the king angrily asks if he's joking. The mysterious man replies that the queen can surely have a baby, but for that, the king has to go through a lot of trouble. He may even have to endure a lot of pain. Following this, the man reveals that he has been curing people using his vast knowledge of nature. He explains that nature should always be in balance. If someone desires a life, they will have to sacrifice one. The king and queen are both fascinated and horrified by his words. They cannot believe that sacrificing a life is the only way to solve their problem, but due to their desperation, they agree.
Go ahead, kill one of the peons. We don't even know their names.
With this, the strange man starts describing the unusual process. According to him, the cure to the queen's illness lies within a sea monster's heart. The king will have to find it, slay it, and extract its heart. Then, an unmarried and pure lady will prepare it before being given to the queen for consumption. The strange man is adamant that this will solve her pregnancy problem. The next day, the king embarks on his mission to find the sea monster. He locates it in his pants, in a nearby river, waits for it to fall asleep, and stealthily enters the water to launch his attack. The king then stabs the monster with a sword, puncturing its vital organs. But in the ensuing tussle, he is tossed around like a rag doll. At the end of the encounter, the beast is slain, and the king is left with fatal injuries. Before he passes away, though, he manages to extract the heart from the monster. Following this, a dejected queen carries the heart and leaves, hopeful that the sacrifice will come to fruition. In the next scene, a pure and unmarried maid is discovered in the castle, and she is chosen to prepare the heart. But while cooking, she experiences weird sensations and unexpectedly becomes pregnant. When the queen ingests the prepared heart, she also becomes pregnant, bringing hope and joy to the kingdom. 9 months later, both the women give birth to their sons at the same time. It's almost as if they are twins. The queen names her son Elias, whereas the maid's son is Jonah. Fast forward 16 years, the boys have now become adults. Their hair's white tone represents the sea monster's heritage, and they share a deep and unbreakable bond of friendship. They are even capable of breathing underwater, just like a fish. However, the queen doesn't like her son Elias spending time with the maid's son Jonah. She constantly chastises him to make better friends, but he pays no heed to her words. When nothing works, the queen threatens the maid to keep her son away from Elias. Failing to do so will result in the expulsion of both from the kingdom. But despite the stern warning, the boys continue meeting each other. One day, they decide to pull a prank on the queen. Jonah wears Elias's clothing and pretends to be her son, but unfortunately, she quickly finds out about this. As a punishment, she exiles Jonah from the kingdom. A heartbroken Elias tries his best to stop him, but to no avail. Before leaving though, Jonah cuts off a tree with his knife, allowing water to flow from there. He then tells Elias that he will be safe and sound as long as the water is clean. What? After this, the two bid an emotional goodbye, promising to meet each other soon. From that day onwards, Elias regularly inspects the tree to see. The first few weeks, nothing happens, but then the water suddenly turns red. Realizing that his friend is in danger, Elias quickly leaves the kingdom without informing his mother. After days of intense search, he finally arrives at Jonah's house. The latter has married a beautiful young woman who immediately hugs Elias, mistaking him for her husband. However, when the prince reveals that he is a different person, she becomes upset. The woman then explains that Jonah ventured deep into the forest 5 days ago and has not returned since. Worried that something might have happened to his best friend, Elias immediately sets off to look for him. On the other hand, with her only son missing, the queen visits the strange man once again, seeking help. But even this time, he tells the same thing. In order to have a life, she must sacrifice one. Without any other options, she accepts the terms. Meanwhile, Jonah is stranded in a dark cave, injured and scared. It is revealed that a flying creature creature is after him. Just when we think the boy is about to be killed, Elias arrives at the scene and fights off the creature with his sword. He even manages to kill it using his bravery and valor. However, in a shocking turn of events, it is shown that the creature was actually his own mother. She sacrificed herself for the sake of her son. In the last scene, the two return to their kingdom, and Elias finally ascends to the throne, ready to lead their people into a new era. Following this, the second story begins, and we are introduced to an extremely lustful and arrogant king. He is always surrounded by ladies and booze, completely carefree about what is happening in his kingdom. The one thing he is missing is a loving wife and some dignity, which shouldn't be too hard to find considering his enormous influence and fortune. Then, we are introduced to two elderly sisters who reside in close proximity to the palace. Despite their advanced age and solitary existence, their voices sound strikingly youthful and pleasing to the ear. One of the sisters, Dora, is a cunning and self-centered woman, while the other, Ima, is frank and sincere in her demeanor. The sisters rarely venture out of their house and remain unmarried, seemingly content to live out their remaining years in seclusion. One morning, as Dora is singing, the king hears her voice and instantly falls in love with her. He has never heard anyone sing so beautifully. Go home, king, you're drunk. So, he arrives outside her house, hoping to see her in person. However, when the king knocks on the door, the sisters panic, not wanting to expose their real appearance. They frantically think of an excuse, and Dora requests the king to come back in a week, saying she will be more comfortable then. Smitten by her voice once again, he delightfully agrees. As the day of the king's visit approaches, Dora and Ima work tirelessly to make their fingers look young and beautiful. Dora tries covering her fingers with herbs, but to no avail. They still look wrinkled and old. Ima, on the other hand, has put her finger in her mouth for many days, and it looks quite good and young. When the king arrives, Dora nervously presents Ima's finger as her own, hoping to deceive him. To her surprise, the king is completely smitten by the young and beautiful finger, and believes that he has found the love of his life.
Oh, huzzah! I just love fingers!
However, the sisters are not out of danger yet. If the king discovers the truth, they will surely face dire consequences. So, after much deliberation, Dora proposes a condition to the king. She will only sleep with him if it is in complete darkness, and the king agrees.
I'm blackout right now, says the king.
In the next scene, Ima begins tightening Dora's body with glue, hoping to make her appear like a young girl once again. At midnight, a guard from the palace arrives in the darkness and takes Dora away. The king sleeps with her and has a great time, unaware of the deception. But in the morning, when he finally learns of the truth, he angrily orders his guards to throw Dora out of the window. Fortunately, luck is on her side, and she survives the fall by getting stuck in a tree. After a while, something magical happens. A witch approaches Dora and transforms her into a stunning young lady with long, luscious hair. The following day, as the king is hunting in the woods, he spots the beautiful version of Dora and gets captivated by her. Once again, he believes that he has found the love of his life. So, he brings her to his castle, intending to make her the queen. On the wedding day, Ima is also invited, and as soon as she notices her youthful sister, she is taken aback. She inquires how it can be possible, to which Dora jokingly replies that she peeled off her old skin. Unfortunately, Ima believes this to be true, so she seeks out an ironsmith to remove her own skin in exchange for a necklace. The latter obliges without any hesitation, and he brutally carries out the procedure in the woods.
Gross!
After a while, Ima returns to the castle, all bloodied and weak. She soon passes away due to her injuries. Even her sister Dora doesn't get a happy ending, as the magic begins to fade, and she slowly reverts to her old self. Not wanting to cause any further problems, she runs away from her own wedding, never to be seen again. The moral of that one is never try to please an alcoholic. In the third story, the king is extremely childish and strange. His wife died long ago, and the only person left in his family is his unmarried daughter. But for some reason, he doesn't love her wholeheartedly. One day, the king notices a parasitic insect feeding on his hand, and instead of swatting it away, he allows it to continue.
Feels good.
He even takes the strange decision to keep the parasite in a glass box and feed it with his own blood every day. As time passes, the insect grows larger and more menacing. The king becomes so engrossed with it that he neglects his daughter's well-being. But one day, the beloved parasite falls sick and passes away. Unable to divert his mind from the tragedy, the king finally decides to marry his daughter, Violet. Wait, what? He decides to host a grand competition, with the winner earning the honor of marrying the princess. Oh, he's not married. Okay. The latter is both excited and apprehensive about the idea, as she had never hoped to find love on her own terms. Nevertheless, she agrees to participate, and the news spreads throughout the kingdom. Surprisingly, the king peels out the dead parasite's skin and displays it in his palace. He then announces that whosoever can guess the name of the insect will win.
It's Douglas. I named him Douglas because I love him so much.
Hundreds of people flood the palace, hopeful that they can marry the princess. However, none possess the wisdom and know-how to guess the mysterious insect's name. This upsets the king, and just when it appears as if his daughter will remain a bachelor, someone steps up. An ogre arrives at the castle and guesses the insect's name correctly. Realizing that she has to marry an ugly beast, Violet tries to commit the unthinkable, but her father quickly calms her down and convinces her to go through with it. Following this, the ogre takes Violet to his abode, which is a cave high up in the mountains. He feeds her nothing but raw meat and keeps her confined at all times. But one day, while he is out hunting, Violet sees a woman on the adjacent mountain and becomes happy. She explains her situation and begs for help, and the woman promises to return with backup. The next day, she returns with her family and successfully rescues Violet. However, along the way, the giant ogre catches up to them and brutally pones the family one by one. He then takes Violet to a cave and hugs her passionately. But when the ogre is distracted, she takes out a knife and kills him once and for all. In the final scene, a bloodied Violet returns to her castle with the ogre's head in her hand. The sight terrifies everyone, and even the king falls to his knees, asking for forgiveness. Violet simply says, "This is the husband you chose," and starts crying. The story, and the entire movie, ends as Violet is appointed as the Queen of the Kingdom. That one doesn't have a moral. That was badass.